So in today's episode, you know me, if you've been following Bravery in the Boardroom, you know me and you know about my determination and desire to see boardrooms more representative of the communities and staff they serve. But today, I wanted to ask my co-founders, Sam and Liam from the Clive Henry Group, to join me in this conversation. So I could ask them and for them to share about why them in positions of power, in positions of influence, with privilege, and in the majority, why did they co-found Bravery in the Boardroom with me? And what is it that has brought successes to their businesses in terms of developing and designing and encouraging dynamic, diverse teams across their businesses? How have they done that? How's that contributed to the success? And what is it they're challenging others to do in terms of leading bravely? So as I said, we see boardrooms more representative. So this episode gets into this and more, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So hi everyone, and welcome back to the Bravery in the Boardroom podcast. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Monique Carayol. I'm one of the co-founders of Bravery in the Boardroom, but I am really pleased to have my fellow co-founders with me here today, because most of the time you see me fronting our stuff. So it's really good to have Sam and Liam with me today as well. And I'm going to let them tell you a little bit more about themselves as we have this conversation. But before we go any further, it will be great for people to know, maybe I should say your real jobs. So to tell us a bit about your businesses and what you do.
I still don't know what my real job is, to be honest. So I'm Liam Molesworth. This is Sam Alsop-Hall. We're co-founders of Clive Henry Group, which consists of three separate companies. Boardroom Healthcare, which is a recruitment agency, Improve, which is a management consultancy, and Tech Canal, which is our tech company. And we operate in the NHS and private healthcare space.
Okay. Oh my gosh, a lot there. And how long have you been running for?
So I set up Boardroom Healthcare in 2018, so 4.5 years, coming up to 5 years. And then we set up Improve 2 weeks before we went into national lockdown in March 2020, which were very weird times. And then more recently, we set up Tech Canal in the summer of 2022.
So a lot going on there. And I'm going to, as we're speaking, I want to dig into that a bit more because I think you're very brave in how you do things, but it would be great for our listeners to understand a little bit more about that. But I know that your businesses are actually very successful. So congratulations to you both on that. But it'd be great to understand what's driven that success. What's the success of your business? What's made it happen for you?
Sure. So we might have slightly different answers, or Sam might come in and say something else. For me, it has been the ability to hire great people, and I think the word "great" is very significant in that sentence, because anyone can hire people, but we've got quite a good track record in identifying talent and getting people to reach their potential before they might see it themselves. We're very, very lucky to be surrounded and work with talented people.
To tell me a little bit more about that, what you said about identifying talent and seeing their potential maybe before they were. That's really interesting. Tell me a bit more about that.
Sure. So I guess we're both recruitment consultants by background, so naturally, or maybe a learned skill we have is finding good people for jobs and making them fit. And I think that in terms of seeing potential before someone else might have seen it themselves, we look for the natural characteristics of a great person rather than looking at someone's qualifications and what they might have achieved academically, before. We find that more important. So we often interview people and they might not have the confidence, or they might not have had the experience that other people come in with. However, if they have got, or if they display some of the natural characteristics what we're looking for, are they mature? Are they professional? Are they focused? Sort of just hitting all of the values that we look for in people, then we'll more than often take a chance on them.
It's really powerful what you shared there, actually. I think there's a whole conversation going on at the moment about recruiting differently, and how do you recruit values for values as opposed to technical competencies or qualifications. So I really love what you shared there about how you do it and actually how that's brought you success.
Yeah, I think, like, for example, I had an interview this morning, and this might sound really bad and quite unprofessional, but I didn't even look at the person's CV, because in my eyes, firstly, that a potential hire is being brought to me by someone else as a recommendation. And again, like, I'm not really that interested in where you've been to uni or what degree that you've got. I'm more impressed who you are as a person. So yeah, that's more important for me. Okay. Don't know if you've got a similar answer.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we'd never look at CVs, do we? So no. I think our number one value is work ethic. So like, one of the reasons me and Liam became business partners is because probably the first time we found people who could match each other's work ethic.
Yeah.
So it's really, really difficult having business partners, co-founders, because if they don't match your work ethic, it can build up resentment and issues and stuff like that. So above everything, work ethic, that's the number one value, and you can't see that on someone's CV anyway.
True.
So talk to me a little bit about one I know, so I don't want to tell the story in what I say, but something that we've spoken about a lot in our own conversations, and when we have our Bravery in the Boardroom events, is about developing and increasing diverse talent pipelines. You've mentioned, Liam, about how you identify talent and how you pull people through, and you support people, I suppose, to develop and do. Talk to me about developing dynamic, diverse teams, because it sounds great what you've done.
Sure.
But why do you do that, and why is that important?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it's pretty obvious to us that, again, you can only run a great company with great people, and great people are everywhere. So if we don't look at hiring diverse talent, we're all of a sudden choosing talent from a much smaller pool of people. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious to us that we need to include absolutely everyone when we're making potential hires. And then we're also keen on, we understand that someone has the natural skills to do whatever job they're doing, whether it's in Improve, Woodrow or Tech Canal, but you also need to be coached and taught the more, I guess, specific market skills. So we make sure that anyone that we hire is put on training courses or management courses or whatever courses they might need in order to, I guess, be successful within their career. So for example, we've got Joe Burrows and Corey Carruthers and Matt Cardy now, who have a mentor and someone that, I guess, has been there and done it. Especially for Corey and Joe, two young black males, you get treated differently. And we know that as, white males. However, we've never experienced what they have. So it's important that we get them a mentor, who's Marcus, who is a young black successful man, and he has been treated differently. Whereas he can almost coach Joe and Corey to, when that time does come, because it's going to come, how do you respond and almost, keep your head up and strategically move through that situation. So I find it very important to make sure that the people who are coaching have been there and done it, and it's not almost just us, Sam and I, who are from very different backgrounds and get treated very differently in the professional workspace. Yeah,
so you recognise that. I think, and I appreciate your honesty there, because I think sometimes it's hard for people in positions of power, leaders, to understand that it is right, and that's absolutely what we're pushing for everyone to have equal opportunity to progress and achieve their potential, but recognising that people will face barriers and face situations that you won't understand and I might not understand. We're different. And I think what you're saying there, it's important to try and find them people who will understand some of their lived experience. But I also know as individuals, our lived experience will always be different. And having a coach really can help people to discuss and express and work through their individual challenges. You know, not just assuming because I look like you, it will be exactly the same. So I think that's really important in terms of how you're providing that. I wanted to ask you both though, so kind of building on that, what does equity mean to you then? So in that space, and maybe I'll come to Sap. You've been talking a lot.
Sorry.
I'll come to Sap.
So I think equity it's not just about giving everyone the same opportunity, because that's just equality of opportunity, whereas equity is making it so that you've removed some of the barriers that other people have got to give them the same chance. So I think even in our own careers, like, you know, 3 of the most successful hires I've ever made, one of them was a ex-professional footballer that wanted to be a recruiter. One of them was a bricklayer that wanted to be a recruiter, and one of them had been doing nightclub promotions and marketing and is now the head of creative for our group, who's amazing. So I think trying to like remove people's barriers, and that might be a financial barrier. So we're very, very open to say to people, like, you're here for a career with us, but we're going to help you build professionally outside of work as well, on a personal level. So, you know, we're not FCSA accredited and we need to be careful, but we teach the guys and girls that work for us about credit cards and credit reports and interest rates and mortgages. And we don't just talk to them about their job, we talk to them about how to navigate the world outside their job. And I think if you're going to try and coach and support people to navigate the world outside their job, you also need to be honest and say, okay, one of the challenges for you is you are a young black male, so you've got these challenges, so we'll help you navigate them by doing this. One of the challenges for you is you've come from a disadvantaged background, and therefore you don't have access to learning, or even things like we fund travel for some of the people who come and do apprenticeships for us, because it might just literally be that their barrier to get into work is getting to work.
Yes.
So I think that's equity to us, is like whatever the person, Liam's point about hiring great people, whatever great people you've brought in, you've got to unlock their barriers to entry and make it equitable. And, you know, even if you're from a very, very privileged background on paper, you might still have like barriers that mean you haven't got equity of opportunity in terms of your confidence levels, or in terms of your lived experience about other things that make it difficult for you to perform at work. So for us, like, that's equity. It's just like speaking to the person about them as a person and what's going to stop them being really successful in our businesses. And I think that's what we've done really well.
So that's great. You know, like I said, that's great. It's brilliant to hear that. Really good also to understand how that underpins your success. But you two have decided that's not good enough for you, right? So you could just crack on. I'm all right. Monique, we're good. Business is successful. We're running it that way. We've got dynamic, diverse teams. I'm probing you today because I know you two don't really speak about this. So actually, I think I might be selling your secrets here, but I think it's important. Why I've asked you about it today is because it's one of the reasons why I did want to partner with you when I got to know you a bit more. You're not just talking about the front end. You know, you're actually, what you're talking about at the front end, what you're trying to drive at the front end, you actually are doing in your businesses as well. But I want to come to why. So why Bravery in the Boardroom? Why get involved in this space? Knowing, and we've been having this conversation just before, knowing that actually it can affect your business, can affect your bottom line. You know, people don't like, there's a lot of people out there who don't like people in the majority being an ally and speaking up for those who are being discriminated against. You've got peers and colleagues and potential clients who won't like it. So why get involved?
Yeah. So I think it's important to know that you made a really good point. We could, and there's so many people who represent the same as Sam and I, who could sit there and they could get on with their day-to-day lives and nothing's going to change for them. However, those are the same people who are the people that can genuinely make a difference in what we're trying to achieve from Bravery in the Boardroom. And to solve that collectively, if people like Sam and I aren't going to drive the change, because let's be honest, we're the people that have to drive that change. So the reason why I personally wanted to get involved in it is to effectively show how important it is to have a diverse workforce and the benefits it can have to your business, because you'd be stupid not to look at that. So that's my 2 pence.
Yeah, and I think like not beating around the bush, the NHS is notorious for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember reading a board sort of white paper, the Snowy White Peaks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the same,
Mm-hmm.
and that was written 15 years ago. It's the same. And then, you hear about the NHS is a highly performance managed system.
Yeah.
And you hear about poor performance all the time. And a lot of it just comes down to the systems and processes that the people are operating in. And for me, like, if you've not got a representative, diverse board, how are you supposed to have a representative and diverse workforce? And therefore, how are you supposed to serve the representative, the diverse economy that you're in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the people that are your patients?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's just a few things that have annoyed me in the past. Like, the person who I was recruiting for wasn't brave enough to say, it's a very diverse part of the world. Our board isn't representative of the diverse part of the world. So therefore we need to try and
Mm-hmm.
tackle that.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to say it. And then for me, it's diversity as well, and diversity and inclusion for me isn't just about, what you look like or what your sexual orientation is or what your gender is.
Mm-hmm.
It's about diversity of thought,
Mm-hmm.
because you can be a black female, but actually me and you could be on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
We could have the same type of thinking, type of thought. So it's more about like diversity of thought
Mm-hmm.
and diversity of opinions, and even the way that people in our office speak, is different.
Yeah.
Some of the things that some of the guys come out with, I'm like, what? I don't know what they're talking about. But that's wicked, because obviously then they build customer bases with people who speak and feel and talk like them.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's how we've been successful, because, not everyone likes me and Liam, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Most people like him, but
I really hear you, and I think something that we talk about, just to pick up on something you said there, Sam, something when you said about diversity of thought, or even when you have groupthink, so you could have representation by site, is what I think you're saying there. So you've got the diversity by site, but actually the behaviour and the thought isn't. And I think I mentioned that because one of the things that I speak about a lot in Bravery in the Boardroom is, it's not to say that it's not right to see diversity and see boardrooms more representative of the communities and staff they serve, but we need to make sure that representation isn't by site only. Yeah. We want to see brave leaders in there, like you just described, that situation there where that leader wasn't brave enough, to make that decision and to go for it. And we need brave leaders to try and pull down some of these systemic barriers. And I feel like I'm getting on my soapbox now. I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to start a movement, isn't it? Because it's not just about us, but I think we had the energy and the will to say, let's try and do something. But in saying that, I also know that people come for us.
Yeah.
People come for us. They might not like the angle that we're coming at. They might be saying, you two are performance allies. It's Monique's a mug, they're performance allies, what you're doing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about that in terms of your bravery. So your bravery to, as I asked you before, you might lose clients and friends. Your bravery because people might come for us. Where does your bravery come from?
Yeah.
Your bravery to make big decisions in your business and to start new businesses that you're saying, let's go on holiday.
I don't think it's bravery. I think it's like willingness to learn. People who have representative pronouns, like, I don't know what they are. I don't know why you've decided that that's what you want your pronouns to be, but I tell you how I can find out. I can speak to you about it and I can ask you. So the whole point of Bravery in the Boardroom really is to create that ecosystem where it's okay to come and talk about it and ask about things. And that's our real bravery, is that we're not saying that we're equality and diversity and inclusion specialists. What we're saying is we know one of the reasons our businesses are successful is because it's a diverse business.
People don't feel like they're treading on eggshells around, sensitive topics like what we're talking about. So they feel comfortable in being able to go, right, teach me what, the language is, or teach me, what I need to do in this situation. And they're willing to almost admit that they've made a mistake, like Sam says, and having that willingness to learn and have the conversation about it is, I think, half the challenge.
Mm-hmm. So like, give an example, like it's the holy month of Ramadan at the moment. I know that it's Ramadan, and I know that means that you don't eat at certain times a day, and you don't pass water at certain times a day. I don't know much else about it. So within our business, not only do we need to go and find out of our colleagues who are observing Ramadan, but I last until about 11:30, and I need breakfast. So how do you work all day without breakfast? And unless you go and speak to them and say, what workplace adjustments do you need? And the workplace adjustment one of our colleagues wanted was, if I'm absolutely flat on my feet, exhausted, I want to be able to take extended breaks. Cool. Well, if we don't ask, we don't know. So stuff like that, or I think being like brave to challenge things when they're said, because again, we've got a very young workforce, and because we're values-led recruiters and we've recruited them based on their values and principles, we know sometimes people say things and they don't mean it in a malicious way. It's just unconscious bias, or it's the way they've heard people talk about things at home, etc., etc. But I've got no problem to say, you can't say that, and then explain to them why. Or I've got no problem to say to one of my colleagues, how do you feel about what's just been said, knowing that that might have upset them. But it's that bravery to say, did you know that you've just hurt their feelings by just saying a throwaway comment about someone's sexuality, etc., etc. But unless you're having the conversation, it just gets left unsaid. When you decided to work with us, the performance ally criticism, I know people have rang you and said, who are these pair? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And I think that you know us well enough to be able to defend your decision, but like from the outside,
why?
Who are these guys? And I think also we're not that brave because we stay in the background. This is the first time we've been on, the stage, so to speak, talking about it, because people do come for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I think it's so true, and we're not here trying to say that we are right and everybody else is wrong. That's not it at all. I think there are a camp of people exactly sitting in what you described, Sam. Yeah, there are a camp of people though who hold power, and they are deliberately holding it, and they're deliberately resisting. Yeah, they're deliberately resisting seeing diverse talent flourish. They're frightened. They think people are going to come and take their jobs in their spaces. Well, last thing I knew, there was a big workforce crisis in the NHS and there aren't enough people. And as you said, performance is down in most places. So you need something different.
But interesting what you just said. People are worried that you're coming for their jobs and their places. Why is it their jobs and their places? That's the question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It isn't, is it?
It's not. But that's how we have a set of people in power who think like that.
Yeah.
And what we're saying here is we need a movement because people need energy, and we need persistence and consistency to challenge and pull those barriers down. You also need a safe space, so like what you described, you need a safe space where people do want to do different. They do want to address it. They know it's not right in their organisations. They know their senior workforce isn't representative of the community they serve. But as you said, they're frightened. They're frightened of getting something wrong. They're frightened of offending people, so they stay away and hide. And I think we're trying to create some conversation in the Bravery in the Boardroom space where you can come and find out where you can go and get educated. Yeah. You can come and hear from the heads of EDIs who are working really hard to drive change in their organisations, to educate and support, to challenge, to remove that. So I think it's important to talk about, and it is clumsy, it is clunky, and I don't think it's about excusing people when they offend. I think it's what you said, it's about educating when you offend, so then your bias is no longer unconscious. You understand it now, you don't do it again. But we've also got a group of people who really fuel the movement, okay? And to come to the answer of the question, we've got a group of people who are doing so much great work in this space, and we use the movement to give that a platform. to let people. I think the largest reason why people say they come to our events is to learn about good practice. How are people doing it elsewhere, right? So that bit as well. But why am I working with you? Well, if you haven't heard it before, the story of how I reached out to Sam when I left the NHS 2 years ago, and I came across Sam through a mutual contact, Tara, and I said, I'm going to reach out to Sam. He's big on LinkedIn, big across the NHS. I'm saying that. I'm changing in what I'm doing. I think it'd be good to connect with you and just say, this is what I'm doing more of. You started to probe me though. You said, let's jump on a call. And you started to probe me. Okay, what is it you're doing? What is it you want to do? Why do you want to do it? And we both hit on that synergy of, we want to create a space where we can bring a challenging conversation. We want to create a space where we can amplify leaders from ethnically diverse backgrounds, senior leaders in the NHS. And I remember you saying, Sam, I really see a vision for this, but I don't know how to bring that about, but I do think it can be something special. And I was like, well, I think it could be that. And we started to talk about it. You said, come and see me and my team. We'll do something. You just went, I want to get behind this. Now, did I know at the time, that exact time, did I know if you were a performative ally or not? I didn't.
Yeah.
What I believe though, is that you were genuine in, I've heard a good idea. I've got a team that I'd like to invite you to come along and speak with. And I think we can shape something here together. Let's see what we can do. I'm tired of hearing and seeing things like the Snowy White Peaks report and nothing changing.
Yeah.
I think we can put our energy to something good. Let's see what we can do. So that conversation, how it sparked, that's the genuine why. So did I know at the time? No, I didn't. But did I trust you? Yes, I did. And do I think we've got a safe space between us that if it's not going the right way, or I'm concerned about where you're coming from, or vice versa, can we talk about it? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Mainly because we're all Liverpool fans, right?
It's not a good thing to say.
Big Liverpool fans. But I think it's I think why I want us to talk about that as well today is because I think, Liam, you said something that was right, which is right. It's not only those in the minority's responsibility to try and drive change, to see discrimination removed, to see barriers come down, to see more inclusive leadership, to see boardrooms more brave. It's not only those in the minority. So actually, that was another one of the reasons why I wanted to partner with you as well, because it's important. You're in the majority. I'm on paper in the minority. Why don't we put our energy and our vision and our diversity of thought together for good? I think we can challenge more. I think we can influence more. So here we are.
And we've seen firsthand the feedback that you've had from people that have been on the webinars, people that have attended the webinars, people that call us up and promote what we're trying to achieve together. And you're right. How powerful is it to have almost a foot in both representative camps, trying to drive the same message and the same what we're trying to achieve together. So I think we'll keep going, and it just comes quite naturally to us.
I think the other thing for us really is that we're there isn't any vested interest, commercial benefit. There's nothing for me and Liam. We don't. If we just left it how it is, it doesn't make a difference to us really, does it?
But that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many people can be in our position and leave it as it is? Well, okay, you're missing out. As business owners, you are missing out and not unlocking potential of your business, both from anything from the top line to your bottom line, of not looking at diverse talent. So that's, I guess, there's two sides of it here for me. There's one, making sure that people in our position and our business owners, are going to challenge, and then also it's from the other side in the NHS, which is an even bigger problem, because at the end of the day, we can't really get sacked, can we? Whereas people in the NHS who are scared of making those decisions and scared of change, it's about them being brave and them going, right, I know that I've got my neck on the line here, but I'm willing to do that for this cause. So I think that's what we're trying to drive from both sides.
Yeah. And bravery in the boardroom is for everyone, because what tends to happen when you try and tackle these issues is you get these kind of little pods, little networks that are just for X representation and just for Y intersectional characteristic. Whereas we're trying to say, no, bring all of that together into this umbrella movement where it's about bravery in the boardroom. And bravery in the boardroom might be giving the support and education to a chief executive of an NHS trust that wants to have a more diverse and inclusive team, but worries that people are going to come for them if they start trying to do it. That worries that they're going to get, it's for everyone. And it's also not just about race. Like, this is bravery in the boardroom could be all sorts of intersectional things. It could be to do with, I'd like to see more people with disabilities represented in the NHS. I mean, if you can't have people with disabilities represented in the NHS, the most accessible buildings in the world most of the time, then, how can we expect the private sector to do it? Or say, for example, I know there's quite a few executives that even to this day won't, come out and talk about their sexuality. Well, why don't we use bravery in the boardroom to get people who have come out and who are talking about their sexuality and get them to show why that's okay and why that could be a strength and probably is a strength. So I think bravery in the boardroom is for everyone. And also at the moment we're very NHS. It's everyone. Like bravery in the boardroom, kind of coming back to it, like Liam says, like we can be brave because we can't get sacked. And we're driving it from the top as effectively the chief execs of CHG. So like, how much more power could be given to that movement? And that's what we need in the NHS. We need the very top, the chairman and the chief executives driving it from the top. Because I think a lot of the time, to your point, Monique, you get like diversity on paper and people go, oh, look how diverse our board is. Well, not really, because your non-executive directors are diverse, but then everyone else looks the same. But then also, back to our original point, even if you can go, look, we're exactly 50-50 and we've got, one of these, that still might not be diverse because it's not to do with what you look like, it's to do with how you think and your behaviour.
Yeah, and I think in what you were saying there, I like that we create a space where everyone can come and learn. People always say to us, who's your target audience? Who are you trying to target? Yeah. And we say, well, actually everyone in this space, those with the power, those with the specialism, those who are in the minority who want to progress. We want to talk to everyone in the space, and the feedback we get says that. I also value that there are groups and specialist groups who come into our space and help us understand the focus from their specialism as well. So they bring that conversation, they bring that specialism to the table, and it gives space for everyone to understand that better too. But there is always more work to be done. This isn't saying it's a done deal. I hope the movement continues to infinity because the movement is the people. And, for us, it's creating the space, keeping it honest. And that's why we don't want our special events to be commissioned, because it's important to us that the space is honest. And people can speak and they feel able to do that. But we keep driving about, and the other thing we, almost to finish up on, if you like, one of the things that I know collectively frustrate us is how slow things move. And I think what we've wanted to do is inject some space and some pace and energy into the movement as well. Actually come in, tell us what you're doing, share it, scale it, move it, let's do it. So we're not here saying we're the people who do it, we're not. We're trying to create the space and poke the space and lobby and influence policy at a higher level to drive some of that bigger change. So I hope we achieve from that. You're coming in and, you're looking at this from an individual, but also collectively we give that energy and clarity of what needs to keep moving to drive the change.
Yeah, and using the skills we've got, business people, the resources that we are lucky to have, like the branding for Bravery in the Boardroom, it's wicked. The social kind of strategy behind it is wicked. The costs and everything of it are met by us. So we're just trying to push the movement like we would our own business. And the only difference is that we don't make any money from it. But to be fair, there's some things that are more important. And this is one of them, because I would just hate it. I've got 2 little girls, and we're talking about one intersectional kind of characteristic, which is that they're female. I'd hate it that they can't do something because they don't feel like they can just because they're girls. And then I think to myself, but imagine if you were all the way back.
And how do we support those in power to recognise that providing equity and support doesn't mean that anyone is lesser, you know? And that's what I think I heard from the conversation with you today, is that you recognise you want to develop and increase and embrace the talent in your teams, but you don't come at it from a point of lesser. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
So
and it needs to be met from both sides. You know, you want to be given, you want to be giving the people, you know, who are in a diverse background, whatever that might be, the confidence in making sure that they, again, can go and reach their potential. But then at the other end of the spectrum, you know, the people that they want to be going to speak to, or the people that might be in power of promoting that person or giving them a job or whatever it might be, they need to have the confidence and the bravery in making sure that the person who is from a diverse background, again, can be met, and they can effectively have that confidence in promoting that person into that position. Does that make sense?
And I hope the success of Bravery in the Boardroom is that actually you don't describe that as the person with the power to recruit needs to feel confident or brave, that it's just the norm. You know, that will be the success of Bravery in the Boardroom, that we're not talking about it in that way anymore, that actually the success stories we share in our events are about this is the norm. You know, it's not an exception.
It's to Sam's point, isn't it? It's the willingness to learn. So if everyone has the willingness to learn, I think this will be such an easier movement to push. But at the moment, again, we need to effectively coach people to be brave in the willingness to make mistakes, realise when they're making mistakes, and then learn from them as well, and have conversations about them. And that's the whole point of what we're trying to do.
Thank you. I think this has been one of the most candid conversations I've had. I can't believe that I've been able to keep you two in a space for this long.
It's not often.
Together, and to share honestly. I think share honestly about your own experiences, to share honestly about your journey, and to share honestly about your bravery. So thank you both. And I think we'll be partners for a very long time to come. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Monique.